Ray Negron from Reach Out with Ray and Steve. And this is our special guest, Avani. And Avani is learning about H21 hand sanitizers. This is the sanitizer Gio Urshela and Gleyber Torres sent to Venezuela, Colombia, and a little country called the Bronx. But anyway, let's try this. Okay? Okay, now spray it all over. Smell it?
It smells good.
Woo! That's what I'm talking about. Tell everybody.
It smells good.
H21 hand sanitizer on Reach Out with Ray and Steve, right?
Yes.
Reach Out with Ray and Steve, and then behind me you see the mural of Squeezy, the Yankee Bat Boy. That means it's opening day. Reach Out with Ray and Steve every Monday from 7 to 8 on Facebook and YouTube and Cablevision, 8:30 p.m. on BronxNet. BronxNet. We have some great guests on Monday, including
Reach out, oh, with Ray and Steve. Reach out, with Ray and Steve. Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the car. For the home team. If they don't win, it's a shame. Play ball.
Good evening, everybody, and a very pleasant good evening to you wherever you may be. My name is Robby Robinson. I'm coming to you from Los Angeles, California, and welcome to Reach Out with Ray and Steve. Ray and Steve are our illustrious hosts, and they are coming to you from the Bronx, New York, home of the New York Yankees, and I think they're there now. Guys, come on in.
Are we here? Oh my God. Robby, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Ba, 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 ba. Do me a favor. What's that? Don't
What's the
ever
thing?
embarrass Robby Robinson with that voice of yours.
Well,
please.
it's all about the Partridge Family.
What?
So you can talk, you can talk.
What is it? This is the Partridge Family.
This is about Cowsill.
Yes. How they inspired the Partridge Family.
So then why aren't we showing Cowsill stuff on the front?
Okay.
Oh no!
Wow.
That's insulting and embarrassing to our guests.
Wow.
This is about the Cowsill,
And
not the
but
Partridge.
they inspired
This is
the
why we don't-
Partridge Family.
the issues
Without
I'm having
the Castle, there's no Partridge Family.
Now, boys, hey, somebody looks very distinguished at that panel, and it's not Ray and Steve. Who is that
Oh
gentleman
my
there?
God. This is, one of my true heroes. And I'm going to tell you why. Number one, this is Ken DiCamillo from the William Morris Agency, which is the most prestigious of the agencies in the world and representing more talent than anybody. Kenny, how are you, brother?
Very good, Ray. Very good. Thank you, Ray and Steve. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
How you doing, Robby? You doing okay out there?
I'm doing good. I'm waiting for you guys to book some gigs for us.
Yeah. Well, listen, we've been on a 14-month layoff, right?
That's right. Last February was our last gig.
Exactly. And unfortunately, it's been let me get these things out. It's been a tough year. It's been a very tough year, and especially tough because my good friend and client, 35-year friendship, Regis Philbin, passed away August of July of last year.
That's very
And
simple.
that was very tough. But I'm so happy that Ray invited me. Ray and Steve invited me on the show. I've been hearing so much about it. Ray's always sending me clips, and I mean, it's terrific to be here because I love the Yankees. And I tell you a real quick story. And I know what Ray and Steve want to talk about. But
As Ray eats his ice cream.
Right, exactly.
You know,
Hey, Ray, what is it?
oh, he told Ray to shut him up.
He brought me some I brought him ice cream, so he wouldn't have to talk. You know, Ray always hosted Regis at Mr. Steinbrenner's suite. And it was a great experience. We'd come up there, and Mr. Steinbrenner loved Regis Phil. We just loved him. And Ray would always be there. Ray, who was the guy's name? Alex? Who was
little Alex Garrett.
Yeah, physically challenged young man. And Regis and Ray and Alex, and we would bring the vice president of Notre Dame, and we would go to the games, and Ray would regale us with stories. And I got to tell you, it was a great experience. One of the best times I've ever had with Regis was at Yankee Stadium, and being there with Ray. So when Regis passed away, his wife Joy Philbin was so kind enough to give me some Yankee memorabilia that Regis had collected over the years. And one was this terrific, the counter can see that, this terrific photo. You see Philbin's name on the back.
There's Regis. That's what Mr. Steinbrenner let Regis pinch run that day.
That's right.
And put his last name on the back of the
But
uniform.
I was going to say the mistake was they never put names on the back of the home uniform. That's it. So Regis had this hanging up in his wall of fame at his house, along with this terrific Yankee wood carving, the Yankee NY.
Yeah, I get to keep this too.
Absolutely. 100%.
Oh my God.
Absolutely.
Eat your heart out. Bob Cowsill and Robbie Robinson.
Right? There's no Dodgers, no Red Sox, all Yankees right now.
But I tell you, though, it was Landrum loved to listen to Ray. And Ray and I go back so many years. We had a mutual friend, Steve Duckworth, who unfortunately has passed away. And Ray's story was so inspiring to Regis. And when I went to see that book, 3, 4, that book, and watching that story unfold, and I remember telling Regis, we got to go see the show when it comes around again. And I guess really what it comes down to is Regis was so synonymous with the Yankees. Okay, grew up in the shadows of Yankee Stadium. He and George Steinbrenner had a 35, maybe 40-year friendship. And it was just amazing and so appropriate for Ray to invite me, Ray and Steve to invite me on the show. And I got time for one more story. So he is going to pitch his first game at Yankee Stadium. Yes,
Wow.
it was 95 degrees day game. Regis says to me, "Come on, let's get in the train. Let's go to Yankee Stadium." So I think he's going to call a car. And needless to say, we get in the subway, dripping down sweat. I'm sweating like it's going out of style. Sure enough, George Steinbrenner had left us tickets. We're the only ones and the bartender in the Steinbrenner suite. We're sitting there watching the game, having a hot dog, and all of a sudden, off to the side, a white-haired gentleman decked out in a suit and tie, and we just looks over at him. He looks at me and goes, "Is that Joe DiMaggio?" I said, "Pete, yeah, it is." Now, this is Regis' idol, right? Italian-American, Irish-American kid, Irish. So sure enough, Regis doesn't want to be too obvious. So what does he do? He sits down like across the way from Joe DiMaggio. Maybe Joe will see him and spark a conversation. Well, with that, Joe DiMaggio yells over, "So what'd you do? Come right from the show?" With that, Regis jumps up, literally sits in Joe DiMaggio's lap. And for the next hour and a half, they talk baseball. And it was just incredible to see these two giants of baseball, Joe DiMaggio, and television, Regis Philbin, talking sports like two kids, like they were 12 years old. And I'm listening to the conversation, Joe's talking, heck, if the gates, if the fence had brought in when I was playing, I'd have so many more home runs, and all the stories would just kept going on and on. But while they're talking, I'm taking photos. At the time, they had those disposable cameras. There was no such thing as cell phone cameras.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm taking photos, snapping away, and I'm still sweating. I'm literally going to wring my shirt out. That's so with that, as Joe DiMaggio goes to leave, he goes, looks at me and goes, "Son, are you okay?" I said, yeah, I'm fine with it, man. Well, you sweat a lot. Why don't you get yourself a water? So this Joe DiMaggio talking to me. And this is my father's hero. Oh my God, Joe DiMaggio talking to me. And it was a great afternoon. And one more real story, if I can, man. The Yankee story.
He's still eating his ice cream. So
Yeah, he's
you got plenty of time.
So
Do you have Dodger stories?
George Steinbrenner is head of the Florida State Fair. My client at the time, Bill Cosby, is going to play the Florida State Fair in Tampa. And sure enough, we go down we fly down, and sure enough, Bill and George have been friends for years. They talk about the storm, and with that, I figured I could have a conversation with George Steinbrenner because now he knows me. So, Mr. Steinbrenner, how do our Yankees look this year? He says, don't worry about the Yankees. Worry about Bill Cosby. That's your job. Oh, my gosh. I turned ashen white. I said, oh, no, please, God, let me find a hole to crawl into. Well, yes, Bill Cosby goes and does the 2 shows. Now I've got to go get the check. Bill Cosby's check that night. I got to go see George Steinbrenner. And I'm praying he's already gone home for the night, right? So with that, I go there. There's the finance person. I'm getting the check from the finance person. And I'm just about out the door. And I hear, hey, you look like a double XL. I turn around and it's George Steinbrenner. He's holding 6 Yankee windbreaker. Should have wore that. Windbreaker jackets. And he goes, here, why don't you take this for yourself? One for Mr. Cosby, one for the pilot. And I just could not believe this was George Steinbrenner. 3 hours ago, he was ready to hang me, and now he's like my best friend.
Wow.
So, and again, all these great stories, being in show business, and Ray and I are paths before so many times. And then Chazz Palminteri, who was another great client, such a great client of mine, and a huge Yankee fan. We all saw Bronx Tale, and everybody knows that story about, when the kid says, little C says, Bill Maserati made Mickey Mantle cry. And Sonny says, hey, you think if your father can't pay the rent, Mickey Mantle's going to worry about that? Nobody cares. And it just, the memories I have of the Bronx, I'm almost like a surrogate Bronx native because I had so much great times up there, going there as a kid, going there in professional life, with my clients. And it's people like Ray. When I think about Ray's story and what he did, what he accomplished in such a young life, and the guidance that George Steinbrenner gave him. And I always think about his cousin in that show, Bat Boy, and his cousin didn't get the same opportunity you had. I mean, unfortunately, it was cut short. I think about what the Yankees mean. That Yankee tradition means to so many people. And with Ray, it's living proof what it's done for his life. And I think about all the things that George Steinbrenner did. I remember Ray talking about how Mr. Steinbrenner, he would get in the car and go and give out tickets to people in the city, in the Bronx, underprivileged kids. And I think that's such an inspiration. And my motto has always been in my career, my professional life, and in my personal life, service to others is the price we pay for time on earth. And Ray Negron is a great example of that. And I gotta say, this has been great to be on the show. I got Steve, I got Pete, I got ice cream, and we're all set. We got gifts. We got gifts.
We want to thank you so very much.
That's it, Steve. No more.
We're going to keep you on the show. We're going to come back after, but you have such great stories, and we got to get you back for a whole hour.
Absolutely.
Because the whole thing of Regis is incredible.
Yes, 35 years.
But Robby, you have a song with Sarah that you.
Robby, just my screen is going crazy over here. I just want to say the Modern Gentlemen are sending their love. Just so
I saw that.
Oh, they're terrific.
Our buddy.
They are terrific, that group. They're so good.
Yeah.
Well,
So
Ken,
good.
let me throw this at you. You're the agent of all agents, right? Are you ready to set that up? Is that what you're saying, Steve?
Yes,
Yeah.
Okay, so Ken, you're the agent of agents. I collaborated with a super talented. Let me make sure Ken can hear me. I collaborated with a super talented young lady named Sarah Nimitz, and we did a very unique, a very modern, a very cool, a very hip version of "Take Me Out to the Ball Game." And what I'd like to do,
before we put it on,
Yeah.
we want to make sure that Harold Reynolds hears it because we want him to broker the deal with MLB.
Is Harold Reynolds on the show tonight?
Let's
Harold-
bring Harold
Harold
on. Let's
is
bring
on.
Harold
There
on.
he is.
Harold, I
I'm
want to
here.
introduce you to Robby Robinson, who's the musical director for the great Frankie Valli of Jersey Boy fame.
There you go. Yep.
Yeah, and obviously he's a Dodger fan, but him and Sarah Nimitz put together.
Robby, take over, broker your deal.
First of all, it is such a pleasure. I watch you almost every day on MLB Network.
Thank you, man. That's
I'm
awesome.
a big fan. I'm a huge baseball fan, but even better yet, I'm a Dodger fan, of course.
Yeah.
And I have a version of "Take Me Out to the Ball Game." I want to get to MLB, man. I want you to hear this.
Let's hear it. I
Here it
love
comes.
it. All right.
There.
Man, I'm usually on.
Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jack. I don't care if I ever get back. Let me root for my home team. If they don't win, it's a shame. For it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out at the old ball game. Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jack. I don't care if I never get it back. Let me root for the home team. If they don't win, it's a shame.
Yes.
All right,
That
Harold.
was incredible. Incredible. You gotta tell me the young lady's name again.
Her name is Sarah Nimitz. It's spelled Niemietz. Sarah Nimitz.
She can blow, man.
Yeah.
Wow. She can go, and you can play. Mercy. I absolutely loved it. I loved it. I would pitch that in a heartbeat to Major League Baseball.
I mean,
Great.
Harold, what would be great is to have Sarah and Robby do it on your show.
Ooh.
No doubt about it. That's a done deal. When do you want to do that? We'll make
Whenever
that happen.
you say. When you say.
I'll get all your contact info from Ray, and I'll get a hold of you, or they can shoot you my phone number and just call me. We'll make it work.
Harold, what'd you like specific on that version? What'd you like about that?
Sarah Nimitz.
Well, she could sing, man, but you took me like on 2 or 3 different versions of it.
Yeah.
The first part real slow. I was like, man, that's cool. And then you got funky on it. Then you pulled back a little bit. I mean, it was awesome. And just the combination of you two was perfect mix. It was
And
great.
thank you, Paul, for me, with that video depicts the beauty of baseball. It's the history of the game. It's the modern part of the game. But we look back, part of the beauty of baseball is the past.
Oh, you grabbed the essence of it all. When you first start off with the pictures behind you, I'm like, you better come a little more current. And then you just brought it full cycle. It was tremendous. Really well done.
Well, thank you so much. But let's talk about Harold Reynolds, guys.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
Well, Harold, you had such a great career on the playing field as an analyst over time. We all watch you every single day. 2-time All-Star, 3-time Gold Glove. But when you won the Roberto Clemente Award in 1991, because part of our show, we give back to the community, we show that. But what did that honor mean to you?
Well, I mean, I'm the youngest of 8 kids, so we were always raised to give back and make sure we were involved. I just saw what my single parent home too, so I saw what my mom did and how she, even though it was so busy, still gave back. So that was a tremendous honor. I mean, it's the biggest honor you can get.
Yes.
And it was really cool how it came about for me. I ended up going to the White House to meet President H. Bush when he was there.
Wow.
And getting the award from him, getting a chance to see him there. And a lot of different things happened. So it was really cool on the way.
Harold, what did Roberto Clemente, if anything, mean to you? And did you have a true understanding? A lot of players don't. Did you have a true understanding of what he represented?
No doubt about it. In my household, like I said, I'm the youngest of 8. So Roberto Clemente was one of my brother's favorite players. So when you're the 8th kid, you get the hand-me-downs. So I got handed down a baseball glove with Roberto Clemente's autograph in it. And that was the glove I used for most of my youth.
Wow.
So I knew who he was. And anytime he was on TV, we stopped to watch him. And then fortunately for me, I went and played winter ball in Puerto Rico. And I got a chance to be in Puerto Rico and spend time and really get to know all about Roberto. This was long before I won the award, but learned about the plane crash and what he was doing to go to Nicaragua to give back the goods. But obviously the baseball part speaks for itself. I saw enough great throws and swings and stuff like that, but the humanitarian piece and what he did for a race and for a country was what I really understood even greater when I was in Puerto Rico. So yeah, I got the full scope, Ray, of the essence of Roberto. I knew Vero very well. I knew the boys really good, got to know the family.
Wow.
And have stayed in touch. So 91 was a number of years ago. So I've been in touch with the family, 40 years, 30 years. So it's been a great run.
When did we first meet, Harold?
You and me?
Yeah.
Man, I would have to say in the 80s sometime, right?
Sometime I would think about 87 maybe.
Yeah.
With Dave Valley.
Yeah. Ray has been one of my closest dear friends. And, you know, you look back on relationships and you wonder what great gift somebody gave you. The best gift that Ray ever gave me was George Steinbrenner. And I know people think that's crazy and that's weird, but I got to know Mr. Steinbrenner, and I got to know a side of him that other people didn't really know. His generosity, his charity, how much he loved and cared about people. Now, don't get me wrong, he was a competitor. I got to be in his suite for a number of games. I remember a game one time, Bernie Williams fell down, missed a fly ball, and he turns to me and goes, "Should I trade him?" He's a pretty good player. You know, I'm sitting there going, now, if I'd say, I better be straight point with Mr. Steinbrenner here, no telling. But he was hot. It cost the Yankees the game. He was ready to trade Bernie. So I knew that side of him as well. So it was pretty funny. But Ray gave me that gift of being able to go in, and the biggest advice Ray gave me, he's like, don't call him the boss. Don't call him George. Call him Mr. Steinbrenner, and he will forever appreciate your respect for him. So I said, hey, Mr. Steinbrenner, all the time. And he loved me, you know, and so it was great to get to know him.
When I was introducing Harold to Mr. Steinbrenner, I said, Mr. Steinbrenner, this is Harold. I know who he is.
You know,
yeah, he's something.
Harold and Ray, I hear that on this show, we've had so many people who've known George Steinbrenner, the real George Steinbrenner, and we hear that story over and over and over again. He was just not that maniac that the newspapers would like to print about.
You know, we were in Tampa, and Dave Valley, who I met through Ray, really. He was from Queens, New York, and played for the Mariners. And he was a New Yorker, grew up with Omar Minaya and all those guys. And so years later, we're in Tampa. We'd gone to a wedding, Dave and I in Tampa. We're going across the causeway. And Mr. Steinbrenner's driving next to us in his blue BMW. And we look over, we're like, that's George Steinbrenner. So we kind of speed up, catch up to him, waving at him. And we pull up the causeway when we got over to the other side. And he sat out there and talked to us for about a half an hour, standing outside his car. That was him. That's who he was.
So in '79, you were drafted by the Padres, but you turned it down. You stayed in college. Why did you decide to do that at that time?
At that time, I had two older brothers who played pro baseball, Don and Larry, and they'd both gone to college. Larry went to Stanford and Don went to Oregon. I wanted to sign, but it just was not right. And I went lower in the draft than what I thought. It was kind of a funny story. Not funny, but I use it a lot as a teaching moment. And if you got a minute, I'll tell you the story.
Yeah.
As we're heading into that draft, it looks like I'm going to be in the first round. And the Toronto Blue Jays have their national cross-checker named Bobby Doerr, who all you guys are familiar with. Hall of Fame, second baseman, played for the Boston Red Sox. He grew up in Junction City, Oregon, which is 25 minutes from my house. And so he had three players he needed to go see. And 2 years earlier, he drafted Danny Ainge. So Danny Ainge was from Eugene, Oregon, which is 40 minutes from my home. And my sophomore year, Danny's senior year, Bobby Doerr's following Danny Ainge all over the place. I get a base hit and knock Danny Ainge's team out of the playoffs. And so Bobby Doerr writes down, hey, I want to follow this kid. Now, obviously, I got two older brothers playing ball, so he knows a little bit about me. He's going to follow me. So fast forward 2 years later, it's my senior year in high school. He's got three players to go see. Jesse Barfield, who's in Houston, Lloyd Mosby, who's in Sacramento, and this kid named Harold Reynolds, who's in Corvallis, Oregon. So he decides he'll go to Corvallis last so he can go home and fish and hang out after he sees the third player, which was me. So he goes to Houston first, sees Jesse. They end up signing Jesse Barfield. He plays right field for a number of years for the Blue Jays. Then Lloyd Mosby goes to Sacramento. He ends up being their center fielder. All right, so he comes to see me. He gets to my game. We're playing a game in Salem, Oregon. Ray, I hit 590 my senior year in high school. So I don't know this part of the story I'm going to tell you, till I'm at my first Major League All-Star game. So I'm at my first Major League All-Star game, and Bobby Dorr is our honorary captain. So I get to know Bobby, hanging out, and then we have a press conference because we're both from the same area in Oregon, and I'm playing for the Mariners. So this is like Northwest media and the national media because it's Bobby Dorr. We sit down, have a press conference, and Bobby's got his arm around me. Love this kid, love this kid. And somebody in the crowd goes, hey, did you ever see Harold play like in high school or anything? He goes, absolutely, I did. And I go, how you saw me play in high school? And he's like, I saw him play his senior year, matter of fact. And he told the story of my sophomore year, how I got a hit. And he goes, I saw him play his senior year. So I'm like, she hit 590. He must have seen a great game. And he goes, he got kicked out of the game that day. And I wrote down bad attitude. Everybody's heckling and chuckling out in the audience. And I'm like, deflated. I've been kicked out of one game my entire life. Little league, high school, college, minor leagues, pro ball, major leagues, you name it. One game. And Bobby Dorr was at that game, and he wrote down bad attitude. That's why I didn't get drafted early in the game, in the draft that year, my senior in high school.
Wow.
So I got to validate myself here real quick. So I played varsity baseball for 4 years. And so I hit a ground ball that game, beat it out. First baseman calls me out. I'm like, come on, Bob, I beat that out. No, Harold, he got you. I'm like, all right, third out of the inning. You know, what's everybody do? You throw your helmet to the coach, and you go to your position. Somebody brings you your glove. So I throw my helmet to the third base coach. He goes, you're out of here. I'm like, oh, what are you doing? Harold, you're throwing your equipment. I go, Bob, I'm throwing it to my coach. And he goes, yeah, but we got a new rule, Harold, and if I don't enforce it with the best player, nobody will listen to me. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I look up in the stands, there's like 40 scouts just leave.
Oh, no.
I tell kids this story all the time because I had no idea until Bobby Dorr was telling this story. And I tell them, you got one time to make a first impression on somebody.
Right.
One time. And you got to carry yourself right all the time. And so that was a telling story. But there's so many cool anecdotal things that happen in our lives that we are able to pass along. And that's taking a negative and turning it to a positive. But that was my high school 79, and that's why I went in the 6th round. I dropped all the way to the 6th round from possibly the second pick in the country. So if you look through the rest of my bio, I go to college at San Diego State. I transfer. I don't like my coach that much. I go to a JC, so I fall into the secondary of the draft, and I'm the second pick in the country in that draft. Wow. That's how high I would have gone out of high school even. So I share that story a lot.
That translates to the music business too, because I see that all the time, especially when back in the day when musicians were playing in clubs and stuff like that, there might be 3 people in the audience. You never know if that may be the next great record producer.
No doubt about it. And I tell kids, hey, your attitude is going to determine your altitude. You know, I always say there's how many musicians are there in the world? How many baseball players?
Absolutely.
So why am I going to deal with a knucklehead? You know, I'll take the guy that I'm not going to be giving me problems because the talent pool is basically the same.
Amen, my brother. That leads me to a baseball question to one of the greatest pundits, one of the greatest analysts in the game today, Mr. Reynolds.
Thank you, sir.
What do you think about this Mercedes guy?
Oh, man.
I mean, that kind of relates to what you're talking about.
I mean, that was absolutely incredible to get 8 hits in a row to start your major league career. That's amazing. I had one streak where I had 8 hits in a row.
Wow.
And that's just, I mean, everything I hit was falling in. But he was hitting rockets. I mean, home runs, line drives, doubles. Really impressive. But he got his opportunity, right? What's Hamilton say? I'm not going to throw away my shot. I mean,
what I'm hearing about it, though, is that part of the reason why he was knocked around the minor leagues is because of attitude. He always labeled bad attitude.
I hadn't heard that part, but that's good to know.
Buck Showalter was talking about that.
Right.
Yeah.
No doubt. Well, Harold, we want to thank you so very much for taking a few moments out.
Hold on. Number one, Robby, tell Harold who Bob Cowsill is. Okay, because I know Harold used to watch the Partridge Family. Am I right? Am I right, Harold?
Yes.
Okay, I know you had your crush on what's her name?
I watched the Partridge Family every day I came home.
Susan Day. Susan Day. So I mean, tell them about Bob Cowsill.
Harold, I'm going to tell you about Bob Cowsill. There was a group in the 60s called the Cowsills. They had big hit records, The Rain, the Park, and other things. They had the song from Hair, the song Hair.
Yeah.
They had the big hit with it. And it was a family group of 7 children, and the mom was a singer. And they were super duper good.
So you guys are the Jacksons without a tan.
That's right. And this was actually, and
I'm gonna bring him in.
Partridge Family was based on them, on the Cowsill.
Oh, is that right?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
And there he is, Mr. Bob Cowsill, ladies and gentlemen.
That's incredible.
Hey, Harold, it's good to meet you, sir. Good to meet you. Now, I'm a Red Sox fan, so anytime somebody uses the word 8 and in a row in the same sentence, I think of 2004, even though yours was 8 hits in a row.
That's too funny. Yeah.
And
that's
Ray,
amazing.
you can get all crazy about your little New York wood carving there, but but our family sang the national anthem in 2004 at the National League Fenway Park Championship game against the Yankees, and we were standing at home plate. We got the Yankees down the third baseline, looking like corporate America, you know, trim and slim and looking sharp. And then we got the ragamuffins. These guys, the Red Sox of 2000, looked like they came off the street, you know, from street ball. And I went down and I started scooping up, just before we started singing, scooping up home plate dirt from Fenway and filling my pockets. And I have that dirt to this day in my den on my little Fenway Park, you know, with the big 360 picture and all that.
Nice.
I mean, I don't need to rub it in, but I've been listening to Yankee stuff since Ken sat down. So I gotta.
Well, we have a little clip of that night. Let's check it out.
That was an amazing run by the Sox.
Oh man.
Everybody right up on that mic. No matter what it sounds like.
Please welcome the Cowsills.
I love it. I love it.
Listen, there's nothing like 3 minutes standing in a place like that. You'll never, it was just an amazing feeling. You can't even describe it. For that moment, you're just on top of the whole world and you got your favorite teams in front of you. I mean, I grew up with the Yankee and Red Sox. I mean, if you're a Red Sox fan, you had to deal with the Yankees. The best thing was screen and screen where you could have your Red Sox game on TV, but you got the Yankees up in the corner because you got to keep tabs on them always. You could never relax back then. Never relax.
And I'll tell you what, you guys remember that movie Fever Pitch?
Oh yeah.
I was shot right around. I was in that movie.
Oh, okay.
And so they had wrapped up the season because they were going to lose and all that stuff. Yeah. And the Red Sox got on that run. And so we had to extend it. They go and they beat the Cardinals in the World Series. So that scene, they got permission from Major League Baseball to let Drew Barrymore and Jimmy Fallon run out on the field with the team.
Oh,
Yeah.
I mean, to celebrate. So that was live, real footage.
wow.
So
Yeah.
it was really cool to finish that.
That was
movie off
powerful.
way.
It was powerful. They even affected the movie. You know, I know about them redoing the ending. And as a Red Sox fan, you're going, yeah, they even had to do that. We loved it. Because that had been a long time coming.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know, the Cowsills, what an amazing group and I'll tell you what, one one of the things I've been blessed because I've had a chance to rub shoulders with some of the greatest musicians and singers in the history of the music business. I'm so blessed in that regard. And so when I say this, I say with some authority, the Cowsills were great. They were bad, no doubt about it. They were amazing musicians, these guys.
Wow.
And
How'd that come about that the Partridge Family was based off you guys? How'd that come about?
Well, see, when we came up in '67, we had our first million seller, and our mom was in the group, and that's another story. Yeah, that sounds like a good story, but we had been dropped from 2 record labels by 1967, and without mom. So they thought the cure was to put mom in the group. But, we're just teenage guys, we're going, you're putting who in the group? But, we got the hits and the mom stayed, and we had our career with our mother in the group. So when it came time for the Partridge Family, they were basically cloning the story and thought it would be good for television. And they came to our house in Santa Monica and visited us, thought we'd be in it. But by that time I was 19, 20 and not looking cute like they wanted in the Partridge Family. So they turned us all down as the kids and took it to Shirley Jones and Central Casting, and just had a great series. We loved it. We went to the premiere. We dug Danny Bonaducci. We all fell in love with Lori Partridge. It's like she was the fox of the group,
Yeah.
And David was the hunk, and it was very cool. It's nice to be honored that way.
Did you guys have a bus like them? Was your bus like that?
Yeah, let me tell you. Okay, so here's our bus. Our bus was a bus with the big banner, the Cowsills on the side of it, and all it was a city bus. It wasn't any of these, no fancy tour bus, no, nothing like that. But I got to tell you one thing, Harold, since you brought it up. We've been called gap-toothed Catholics. We've been called squeaky clean family group. Oh, you're the group of them. But we have never been referred to as the Jacksons without a tan. I'm going to add that.
You like that, huh?
Man, that one locked in. Yeah, there we go. We get million seller records. I tell you, it was funny how mom worked out, because when she came in the group, she was petrified. And, we think she's 70 years old. Because I'm 17. She's like in her 30s, going like, she was young to do that. So we gave her a lot of kudos.
Where was your father through all this?
Our father, it was his way or the highway. He retired from the military. He rose the family as if we were the military. That wasn't going to work. He brought it all the way to the top. We got million sellers, but up at the top, it was still his way or the highway. And when you succeed, you've got to change to stay there. You really do. You can't just keep using what got you there, because that's what took it down. So he believed in us. But there's a documentary if you want to see the sordid tale. Lost all our money and all that business that, like you hear about the Hollywood stories, that happened to us. But he was a knucklehead. That's all. He got to the 7th grade and they had 7 kids. They had to get married at 15 and 16. They had all of us. Thank God we could sing. What were they? It was really, truly, I'm not just saying this because of the theme tonight, but it was baseball and music. Because my brothers and I played baseball all the time. Our kids played baseball. There's a strong pitching DNA strand in the Cowsill gene pool. And I'm serious about that. Every generation goes further and does better in baseball in our family. So we're always excited about that. It's true.
By the way, Ray, did you know that Bob Cowsill was on the Rhode Island state championship team in high school, right?
Now, listen, I'm sure Ray, I don't think the word got to the Bronx, okay? but I was on the 1962 Little League Rhode Island state champions. We went up to Maine to try to get to Williamsport. We bumped into a 6-foot pitcher from Maine who threw so hard we couldn't even believe it. And I kind of rode the bench a lot because I was a third baseman, but they put me in center field because I could hit, but I couldn't play center field. So that did not work out very well at all for me. But it was great. It was great. Other than that, I remember after the game we came to It was called the Newport Creamery, and celebrated there with a meal. And I didn't know I was supposed to pay for it, and I had no money, and I had to ask my coach to pay for my meal. So those are my big memories: being benched and not having money for the victory meal.
So who was your guy when you were a kid? Was it Hawk Harrelson, or was it Ted Williams, or
No.
who was it in that day?
Yeah, we came up in the early days when I was a real young kid. The first people I followed was Woody Held. I mean, these names you might not know. Woody Held was with the Cleveland Indians with Booth Powell, I think. But in the Red Sox, we're into Tony Conigliaro. We're into Jim Longo. We're into Louis Tion. We're into losing every year, but we're into these players, and we're baseball fans, man. We know number 7 and number 8. Is what's going on in New York. We're not unfamiliar with that at all, and we're total Mickey Mantle and Roger Maris fans, and Yankee fans, out of the respect, that they're the ones who are going to beat us this year, and we already know it.
See, now we have one thing in common together. You had Dick Williams turn things around for you.
Yeah.
As the manager in Boston. I played for Dick. And so some of my favorite all-time stories are about playing for Dick Williams. I'll tell you guys one of my all-time favorites before I got to get out of here. But he hated pitchers. He hated them. Like, he'd get drunk on the plane. He'd walk down the aisle and cuss guys out. Like, 5 innings, that's all you had in you today? You didn't have a breaking ball. He just It got to the point in '88 where he would not go to the mound unless it was to take a pitcher out. He never went first visit ever. And so he'd just come out and he'd just go like this, give me the ball. It could be the 7th or 8th inning, or it could be the 3rd. But he'd say the same thing, give me the ball. So I was always the second baseman. He loved the second baseman. So I'd always run into, you're standing around the mound when they take the pitchers out.
Wow.
He'd turn to me and talk to me and the catcher and whatnot, but he always put me on the spot because he loved the second baseman. Like, for example, if he'd throw down, I tag a guy, umpire call him safe, and Dick comes sprinting out thinking he got him, and he'd go straight to me, did you get him? And I'd say, yeah, I got him. Even if I didn't. Umpire would look at me like, you know good and well you didn't get him. And after they get through arguing, I go, I got to live with him every day. You can throw me out if you want. So anyway, that's not the story. Let me get to it. So we're playing a game in Detroit, and this kid we traded, and he flies red eye all the way to Detroit to get in the game. This is when the Tigers are killing people. It's Trammell, Whitaker, Gibson, that team. And so he brings this little left-hander. He'd only been in the big leagues like a day. Brings him in the game. He comes out, gives him the ball, bases loaded, no outs. It's Whitaker, then Trammell, and then Gibson. So he walks Whitaker on 4 pitches. All right, walks in a run. No outs.
Wow.
Here comes Dick out of the dugout. I look into the bullpen. Nobody's warming up. He hasn't come for a first visit in 3 months.
Wow.
So here he is coming out. He's got his glass on. He's adjusting his glasses. He gets to the mound. And he goes, are your arms tired? And the kid goes, no, my arm feels pretty good. He said, I didn't say your arm. I said your arms, plural. Because if you don't throw a strike to the next guy and he starts thumping him in his chest, you'll be flapping them all the way back to Calgary. Turned around and walked off. And the next thing you know, here's a triple, here's a double, here's a gapper. Oh, my gosh, it was unbelievable. But Dick Williams was the best manager I've ever played for in my life. He was a technician. He taught me so much about baseball. He could never do it in this generation.
Right.
I mean, he used to blast me in the papers, and I'd go in and talk to him, and he'd say, he wouldn't talk to me. He'd just tell reporters, he should have had that ball. And they'd all come running to me. I'm like, why would they tell me? Whatever. And then when I finally would sit down and talk baseball with him, he would say situations. His one thing, and I'll stop here, he would always say, I should never have to give you a sign. The situation will dictate what happens. And that was the greatest piece of advice.
Wow.
Is this going to be a hit and run? Is this a bunt? Are they going to steal? Should I play back? Should I play in? He always said I should never have to tell you anything. or I haven't done my job.
Wow.
And I'm like, wow, that was Dick.
That's cool.
That is.
I love that stuff, man. That is.
But
So
he hated
awesome.
the pitchers.
And they were pansies, I bet, for him. You know that you got to baby him. You got to baby him.
Except for this Ohtani now. What do you think of Ohtani?
Well, that was amazing. I mean, Mr. Red Sox down here, you saw Babe Ruth, so nobody's done what Ohtani's doing since Babe, right? No, I'm just playing with you. You see Bob's face.
The Red Sox. Oh boy, I tell you, I love it. I love baseball. I love those rivalries. Are you kidding?
I mean, Harold, I got to ask you, what do you think about the way they're using Ohtani? This, hitting him second at the same time starting the game. What's your opinion of that?
I love it. I thought they babied him too much. He's too good of an athlete. And Joe Madden's kind of taken the governors off and said, go play. I mean, we only have a finite time of greatness.
Right.
And we always try to see if we can control it. Like the Jabba rules or whatever it might be. If someone's at the top, let them be at the top.
Right.
And, Bo Jackson, nobody knew he was going to blow out his hip. So let him do both sports. And I say the same thing with Ohtani. Let him pitch and let him hit. We don't know. Will this be a 2-year window, a 5-year window? Will it turn into greatness of 10? But it's a small, finite window. And so I think you got to let guys go and let's see what we got and let them go ahead and make history while they're doing it.
Was that the first time they let someone do that, bat second, with the DH on the bench like that?
Yeah, since 1907 or something like that.
Wow.
Right, that was amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
He had a crushing home run too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we'll see more of it.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. And I know he got injured covering the plate yesterday, but he would have been back in the lineup tonight playing as a DH and playing. Where last year they pitched him on Sunday, they rested him on Monday, he threw a bullpen on Tuesday. Oh, you get to bat on Wednesday and Thursday, and then you're not hitting Friday, Saturday because you're going to pitch Sunday. It's a waste of time, waste of talent. So it's good to see where they're doing it this year.
Do you think that could happen again? I mean, do you think there are other guys in the future, Harold, that could be that Babe Ruth kind of thing, player and hitter? I mean,
we've had a number of people through the years that have come along. There won't be 5 or 10, but there could be another 2 or 3. I mean, the kid McKay with Tampa Bay right now, he's up in the big leagues. I think Michael Lorenzen with the Reds, if they really let him do that, he could be a guy that could do that as well. But Ohtani's unique because he would be a true all-star player at either one. And that's what makes him so special. I mean, I was joking earlier with Bob, but he's the closest thing to Babe Ruth we've seen since Babe Ruth. I mean, people forget Babe was an amazing pitcher. Excuse me?
You really believe that?
Yeah, I mean, look, Ray, he hit a ball 450 feet for a home run and then threw a pitch 101 miles an hour the next half inning.
Right.
I mean, who does that?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Let it fly because it's a small window and we've never seen it before. So Joe Madden is probably the manager to do that, make that happen. So that's a great analysis.
I met him when they were playing the Yankees 2 years ago when he first got to the big leagues. I'd seen him on TV, but I hadn't seen him in person. So I went to the clubhouse to see Ohtani. And he is a legitimate 6'5", 215. I mean, this guy is a stud.
Yeah.
And he can fly. It's just when we start talking about somebody on the Angels other than Albert Pujols, who's going to the Hall of Fame, and Mike Trout, who's the best in the big leagues, then you're pretty special. Yeah. And Ohtani's still in the headlines right now.
Well, Harold, thank you so very much for coming on.
Steve, this has become a minor league show from the standpoint of Harold I think is like going to be getting all his talents to go to his show from our show. Bob Cowsill, the perfect guest over there.
He's got a new song to play.
You got Robby Robinson. But you know what? We have our attorney / agent right here, Harold.
That's right.
So he'll negotiate everything, and we're only going to take 7%.
We can take this thing on the road, no doubt.
On the road we go.
There we go.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much,
Hey,
Harold.
Bob, congrats on your stuff.
Yeah, you
man.
too, Harold. Great meeting with you.
Good
Love
meeting
visiting.
everybody. Hey, we gotta get that. We gotta get that song. We want it.
Let's
Ray
talk,
is
man. Let's talk.
We're doing it.
All right, can't wait.
Thank you all.
Thank
Say
you.
hi to
Appreciate
David
it.
Valley.
So Bob,
What's that?
Say hi to David Valley.
Of course I will. Thank you.
Thank you,
Love you
brother.
guys. Appreciate it. Ray, you're the best, bro.
take
Thank
care.
you.
God bless. God bless. So Bob, how did the whole Love American Style thing come about?
Oh, that was cool. Well, it became cool. It's a show that isn't out yet, so you're not thinking anybody's going to ever hear the song when you do it. But we were living in LA, and at this point, we've had hit records, and we tour and we record, and this is our life, and we do it successfully. And at the age of 19, you operate under the premise that, oh, we got this down. This is forever, you know. And so it's a good way to live, by the way. Anyway, so we get this call to do a TV theme song, and to us, it's like we're home, we're off the road, we're not recording, so it's more like a homework assignment. Okay, what do we got to do? Oh, go down and do this Love American Style. It's a song for a TV show. I said, okay, all right. So this is a one-off. So we get the song, and I'm going to produce it with the orchestra and Charles Fox musicians and stuff. And we got into the studio. A great song. I love the song. And we get into the studio to record it. And I'm like 19, and at the board, we have professional union musicians out there, 30 of them, and a drummer. And I couldn't get the good sound on the drum for the record, okay, for the recording. And so I went out and talked to the drummer. I said, would you mind taking your front of your drum off so I could stick a pillow in there, because it was sounding a little hollow. And he you know, had a little attitude, but he started unscrewing everything. I went back into the booth, and the microphones were all still live. And this guy is doing this, and he's unscrewing these things, going, who does this punk think he is? Yeah, oh yeah, who the hell? And everyone's in the booth. Now we do have record executives in there, and, you know, we're all watching this. And he's going on about my request to have him do that, and he was livid about it. I don't mean to bring a negative memory out of the session, because it really was a fun song to record, and it ended up being a hit TV show.
Yeah.
And so then it becomes a little nugget in your arsenal where a lot of people don't know you sang Love American Style. So when we pull it up on stage, half the audience doesn't even know you did it. It's not like you sat around back in those days wondering who sang the theme song on your favorite TV show.
Well, we have a little clip. We have a little clip I want to show you with Sonny and Cher. Let's check it out. Inspired by you, my man.
Okay.
Love American Style, truer than the red, white, and blue. Love American Style, that's me and you. And on a star-spangled night, my love come to me. You can't.
You know, I love the play of the lyric. When you're young and you hear something like that, you know, you're not old enough to go, is this sacrilegious? You know, are we allowed to do this to these to this song? But the play,
we got nothing. We got nothing but
great.
Listen, we gotta split right here. Bob, thank you. You're incredible.
Thank you.
You guys, yeah, let's do it again.
Yes,
That will
definitely.
do it
Next
again.
on.
I would like
Need
to
a whole
submit
show with you.
I want to submit a list of baseball players to have on as guests at the same time. Thank you.
Robbie, thank you so much. Peter.
Robbie
Thank
Robinson, the greatest.
That's right.
Good meeting everybody.
Thank you. God bless. We'll see you next week. Reach out
Bob
with Ryan Steve.
Cowsill, the Cowsill.
Look for us out there.